I go through this exercise with a couple of my clients, with some of my friends, and I ask them to give me 3 to 5 of the proudest moments in their life. And not these are moments that not that you weren't proud because of the way other people looked at you. Oftentimes high achievers, they are striving for the approval of others, but rather, what are the moments where you are most proud that even if no one knew about it, you would still be proud about it? It does require a little bit of that discovery phase, that little bit of, I do need to do a couple plays where no one shows up to really analyze, hey, who actually is showing up for my second date? And that's really how you're gonna, the litmus test is, who was I born to serve? Not who I can serve, but who was I born to serve? Who's referring me a ton of business? Who do I love working for? Who wants to keep coming back? What is the market that continues to grow? And then how do I make sure that I continually double down and analyze that particular customer segment in order to keep growing my business? Because if you can do that, Callum, you actually could change nothing else about your business except for who you serve and end up tripling it almost overnight.
I remember Alex Hormozi always talks about like the starving market. You know, the person that, like, I don't know, maybe you're like in a car park during the summer and everyone's boiling, and then someone comes around with like a lemonade stand.
Right.
Like the starving market.
Totally, 100%.
One thing that you said that was interesting, like it sparked me the second you said it. Who was I born to serve? And I can just imagine so many people listening to this, and like you would almost ask yourself that question, right? Like, who was I born to serve? I'm curious for you, when you reflect on that, when you think about it, how did you come up with that answer? Because I feel like there's so much that goes into that.
Totally.
Who was I born to serve? How do you come up with the answer?
This is part of your life's purpose. And I go through this exercise with a couple of my clients, with some of my friends, and I ask them to give me 3 to 5 of the proudest moments in their life. And these are moments that you weren't proud because of the way other people looked at you. Oftentimes high achievers, they are striving for the approval of others, but rather, what are the moments where you are most proud that even if no one knew about it, you would still be proud about it? And what you'll notice if you start to write down those 3 to 5 things is there tends to be a pattern. And I try to take that pattern and condense it down to 3 words. I'll give you an example. So for me, I was most proud about when I jumped on the call with Noah. I remember telling him, I'm like, I think Appsumo has a lot of meat left on the bone. And when I remember when I'm hiring people that come from non-traditional backgrounds, and being able to coach them up and train them and get them to the next level. When I'm working with some of the CEOs, even for free with Appsumo, I would go and mentor some of the CEOs that were launching on Appsumo and help and getting emails from them or texts from them like, I'm going to name my yacht after Appsumo. Like, this has changed my life. I noticed there was a pattern. And what the pattern was for me was unlocking untapped potential. And when I said, how do I unlock untapped potential for myself? Like, that was my North Star. Everything that I do in my life is, how do I unlock untapped potential? For me, who I was born to serve as CEO is because, number one, I'm uniquely qualified. I've walked that path, so I can give them advice that very few people in the world can. Number two, I think that CEOs change communities. I think they bend the curve of our ecosystem. When CEOs are better, their companies are better. When their companies are better, the employees' families are better. When the employees' families are better, the communities they live in are better. And so when we talk about unlocking the untapped potential of the world, to me, I am uniquely qualified. I'm born for this. And so what I ask for you, Callum, is like, what are the 3 to 5 moments in your life where you have felt the most proud? Things that you would be proud, even if you never told anyone else. And then what is the common thread amongst all of that? And I would spend that time thinking about that, because I think that ends up dictating all of your future decisions. I say this all the time, make one decision that eliminates 1,000 decisions. If you can make this one decision, which is, what is your highest calling? What is your true purpose? And then who were you born to serve? It becomes so much easier for you to analyze future business ventures, analyze who you should be working with, analyze how you should be spending your time, and really analyzing how are you spending your life.
You know, I read the book by Peter Thiel, 0 to 1.
Yeah.
And one of the things he talks about, I found it fascinating. One of the things he talks about is being like one of one.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at the best companies, the most profitable companies, the best businesses, they're one of one. Like Google's search engine, it's just Google.
Totally.
Apple's hardware and what they've built with the iPhone and the brand that they've built, it's one of one. Nike, their branding, their products, Air Jordan, it's one of one. And the reason I like what you said is, who am I born to serve? It's like you're finding your unique thing.
Mm-hmm.
You're using your experiences, and your experiences are unique to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes you one of one. And you're tapping into that. And that word experiences. I have this belief that a lot of the things that we most care about, I was listening to an interview with Hassan Minaj. He called it like the drive shaft. The things that like motivate us, that inspire us. There's certain things, they'll just immediately light a fire in you. You could be exhausted, burnt out, but if someone can trigger that thing for you, you can go again. And for you, you said unlocking untapped potential. And I want you to go back in your life. Why is that so meaningful to you? Why is that so motivating? Why is that like, I'm born to do this? Like, why does it give you that feeling?
Yeah. I mean, first I'd like to touch a little bit on that monopoly of one. I think that, to me, predicting the future is really about analyzing the current environment and what's happening at a small scale that's going to eventually become the norm. And you take a look at some of the biggest brands in the world today. They're not Apple. They're not Nike. They're Oprah. They're Joe Rogan. They're Tony Robbins. They are unique individual personalities. And it's not that what they're doing is unique, but rather they are unique. And so I truly 100% agree that the more that you can go deeper into who you are, you can, I think the future is no longer a bunch of W-2 employees, but rather everybody working for themselves and creating a monopoly of one. And I think that first starts with deeply understanding who you are. And I think that's part of your origination story. I think that a lot of times where you came from has a direct reflection and a direct tie to your core purpose. And for me, myself, my family was on vacation in Niagara Falls when the first Gulf War started. And for most people, that didn't really matter. But for us, we were living in Kuwait at the time. And so when we went to the airport to go back, we realized that there is a war zone and we can't fly back home. And so we had to stay in Canada with the clothes literally on our back for what we didn't know, an insurmountable amount of time. And we were basically refugees almost overnight. And we went from living an incredible life back in Kuwait to essentially having to go to the church for handouts and clothes and food. And my dad didn't have a permit to work. And so we went from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows in the middle of what should have been a really happy trip. And so seeing my family have to go through that process and recognize the potential that they had, that they were unable to realize that, entering an environment where I didn't speak the language and being able to unlock my own untapped potential, the ability to see and surround myself with people that I hired at Appsumo and knowing that they were passed over for promotions or Ivy League positions when, quite frankly, they could have run circles around those individuals. When I see all of those individuals, that shows a gap between the capability of humanity and where we are today.